For so the children come, and so they have been coming. Always in the same way they come, born of the seed of man and woman. No angels herald their beginnings. No prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will save humankind. And yet, each night a child is born is a holy night. Fathers and mothers sitting beside their children's cribs feel glory in the sight of a new life beginning. They ask, when and where and how will this new life end? Or will it ever end? Each night a child is born is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Come, let us worship. And we shall now light our chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. We light our chalice to kindle love in our hearts and to honor the divine in every child, in every home, in every person, in every place, all over the world. So we've had to make a few changes in our service tonight. You've already noticed them, I'm sure, in your order of service. We gave up trying to keep up with it. So most of the changes, well, these are because, of course, of the surge in the virus, and most of our changes have been around singing. And I just would like to take this time to acknowledge and give a shout out to anyone from our choir who is here, who has been working so hard to prepare the first Christmas music they would sing for us in a long time, only to have it not happen again. And for those of us who really wanted to hear it too. And I want to really thank our trombonists. They have been doing beautiful music for us, and we're so thankful. The way our carols are going to work tonight is that we will listen to them play, and if you like, you can hum along. Our first one is, "O Come All Ye Faithful." Our reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2. In those days, a decree went out from the Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David, called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house of the family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them at the inn. In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you glad tidings of good news, of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among all." So ends our reading. Our story this evening is where you get to use your glow sticks. It's called The Littlest Angel, and I'm wondering if any of you grew up with this story. Did you hear this when you were a child? Anybody? Brand new. Oh, some of you did, yeah. I had the 1960 edition, the Wonder Book, the one that advertises a washable cover. My mother bought it for me at the grocery store, and it's one of my favorite Christmas stories. But I'm going to invite you to join your glow stick together like this and make, what you're making is a little halo. And whenever I say angel in the story, I want you to hold it up, or you can, if you like, hold it up and make a halo. Pretty easy. So once, long, long, long ago, there was in heaven a thoroughly miserable and unhappy cherub. And he was only 4 years, 3 months, and 27 days since he had been a boy on earth and had come to heaven to be an angel. He was known as the Littlest Angel. He tried very hard to look as though he were neither impressed nor intimidated by where he was, looking at heaven. But a tear betrayed him, and he soon was crying more than he would have ever liked to have anyone see. And he, to make matters worse, as usual, forgot his handkerchief from home and tried to cover it all up by the sound of snuffling, like that. A most unangelic sound. From that day on, heaven was never, ever the same. It was because of this little angel that we got the term a holy terror. This little cherub ran around, and he was always late and off key for choir practice. Can you imagine? He would always knock the other angels' wings askew when he ran by them. He would whistle in front of the prophets. The prophets hate that. Everybody knows that. He was trouble. To make matters worse, he never could remember to move his wings when he tried to fly, and so he was always falling down. Now, all of this could have been overlooked if it were not for the appearance of the angel, which was what one could only describe as disreputable. As he would run around, he would always grab his halo with his chubby little sweaty hand because he was always running, and it was tarnished and dirty, and clearly something had to be done about this. He was sent to appear before the magistrate. The littlest angel thought about this and said, "This can't be good." But he combed his hair as best he could. He ruffled up his wings a little bit. He got into the cleanest garment he could find, and yet he trudged with a heavy heart to the place of judgment. Can you imagine in heaven a place of judgment? So he came to the door, but he heard this sound that he thought sounded not judgmental at all, but merry. And he thought, am I in the right place? But he walked in anyway, and what did he find but the understanding angel? And the angel boomed out and said, "So are you the one that has been making all the trouble in heaven?" And he said, yes, I am. "Well, come on over here and tell me about it. Come on." And he said how hard it was for him to be there, that he had only just very recently been a boy on earth, and he missed the earth. He was homesick, and he missed the world. And on earth, you see, there was rivers to swim in and trees to climb and mud on the banks that was warm and soft beneath your toes, and he missed it terribly. And the understanding angel said, "Well, is there anything that you would want, anything that could make you happy in this place where you are right now?" He said, "Yes, there was a box that I used to have underneath my bed." And the angel said, "You shall have it." And they had it just like that. It was a rough wooden box. He had it immediately because that is how they roll in heaven. And he was happy. He was well behaved. The other angels were shocked. And then there was an announcement that came out. It said that a little baby named Jesus was going to be born in Bethlehem to a woman named Mary, and this was going to be a great big deal. He was to be the Prince of Peace. He was to bring love and hope to all of humanity. And all of the angels decided they would scurry around and make presents for the baby. and they had wonderful gifts. They could compose beautiful hymns, and they could write incredible prayers. And the littlest angel thought, and finally he said, I know, I'm going to give my box. These are my treasures, and this is the most wonderful thing I could imagine. And so he put the box out there. He put the box out there with all of the other angel gifts, but as soon as he saw it, among the splendorous gifts, you have to imagine that there's splendorous gifts there, he thought, it looks so plain and ugly. And he became ashamed, and he hoped that God would not see it. He tried to go grab the box, but it was too late. And soon the hand of God was moving all over the gifts, across the gifts, and it came to pause over the box of the littlest angel. And he said, he looked inside the box, and there were things from our earth. There was a butterfly from a field that he had caught one day. There were some smooth white stones that he had found on the beach, on the muddy banks of the river. There were a blue robin's egg in there, and there was a chewed up dog collar from a dog that he loved. The littlest angel still was a little bit worried about all of this. But God said, of all the gifts that I have seen here, this is the one that pleases me the most. For this comes from earth, and earth has great beauty and great power and wonder. And my child, this child, will be of the earth and will love it and care for it. And then an interesting thing happened. The box began to change. And it began to glow, and it rose up until it became the Star of Bethlehem. I'm so glad that worked. Yay. And the Star of Bethlehem has remained a symbol of hope and beauty and love and joy to people for ages and ages. When they think of this story, they think of the star. But nobody knew that it came from a small boy, and that the hopes and dreams of children are as important as anything and as beautiful as anything you could imagine. Every year, our Christmas Eve offering goes to replenish the minister's discretionary fund. When our ministers are presented with a need in our community, a family whose car has died, a single person whose lights might be turned off, someone needing to cover their costs after a death, we can help them. We can say, of course, Eliot is here to help. In the pandemic, when people have lost jobs or had trouble paying bills, we've been there to help. And time after time when we're asked, we can say, of course, we will help you. We believe in that. We want to help. This fund lets us be the church when the church is needed the most, right in the moment. And each time we do this, we give some hope. We help heal our world. Please give generously. The ushers will now come forward. Will you now say the words with me, the words of our dedication of offering? They're in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you. Whenever we feel pessimistic concerning the future of humanity upon this troubled planet, we can always remember this, that with all our fears and failings, we have yet somehow managed to put the brightest of our festivals in the darkest part of the year. Not at midsummer, but at midwinter, we celebrate most universally our hope and joy. This is how the Reverend Dr. A. Powell Davies, a famous Unitarian minister, began his sermon, "Christmas Always Begins at Midnight," in 1944. At that time, Americans were in the thick of war, and there was no certainty about anything, much as now. He continues, "Certainly, we shall not find it easy to be spontaneously happy in a world so full of miseries, nor should we. Anyone who could be truly carefree this Christmas would need to be either inhumanly callous or verging on the imbecilic. If we are to celebrate the ancient festival of light overcoming darkness, it must be in the full knowledge of how dense is the darkness against which the light must shine." So in other words, Christmas really only truly comes at its most powerful when it is the darkest. And if that is so, to quote my colleague Gretchen Haley, this may qualify for the most Christmassy of Christmases ever. It's been a hard year and a hard last few weeks. It's a year calling for hope and a world in which hope is hardest. Particularly cruel was that we just had a glimpse of the light coming through the end, at the end, coming out of the woods, despite our deep divisions over the vaccines, with so many still refusing to take them, and the rest of us hurt and bewildered and angry and afraid. But things were starting to look up, and the numbers were dropping. We started traveling again and seeing our families in our church community. We had come back into this beloved room for worship. And then the newest variant, the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, has just started to wallop our country and the world. And gathering again, even for people who are vaccinated and masked, is a little less certain than it was, seemingly just a few weeks ago. Which is why we are a smaller group tonight and why we are spread out. It is why I greet a number of you. We greet all of you who are joining us from home. I am grateful for all of you here and watching from your home. I love this community. Every Christmas, I contemplate the Christmas story to see what part resonates the most for me that year. And this year it has to be the journey of Mary and Joseph from Nazareth to Bethlehem for the census. Luke is the only gospel writer to mention it. He gives it just a few lines, but this journey has grown in our imaginations as we have told and retold the story. On a map, if you look at a map, Nazareth and Bethlehem are not very far from each other, 91 miles, if you're interested. You can drive that in just over 2 hours on the Yitzhak Rabin Highway, but of course they did not. Google Maps tells us that to walk that stretch of road would take, if you did it solid, would take 33 hours. Now, there are people who wanted to experience this walk, and they have actually done it. They've walked between those two cities. And they say that it takes roughly 5 days. The toughest part coming at the very, very end, the last 32 miles between Jericho and Bethlehem. You have a rise in altitude of about 3,500 feet. The last part is the hardest part. This, I think, more than anything else, really shows to me what A. Paul Davies is talking about, how dark the night is and how long the journey can be. How dearly and desperately homesick we have become. That's the part of the Littlest Angel that I resonated the most with this time, most deeply now. He was homesick for the earth. It said that he missed the world. And we miss the world. We miss the world that we had known before the pandemic. We miss people and places. We miss a sense of ordinariness. We miss being able to plan things and reasonably carry them out. And we are tired. Now, angels appear all over the story, except during this one part where Mary and Joseph are going to Bethlehem. If you combine the stories told in Matthew and Luke, they're all over the place. An angel appears to Mary's cousin Elizabeth to tell her about the baby that she would bear in old age when she had given up ever having a child. An angel appears to Mary to give her the rather frightening news that she was going to have a son, even though she had not been with her betrothed Joseph. And Joseph, an angel appears to him in the Gospel of Matthew. Joseph, who upon hearing the news from Mary, was, quote, quietly planning to dispense with her. Nice, huh? Because she was pregnant. In that culture, not all that different from our own, a woman who was alone bearing a child outside of marriage was definitely alone. And Joseph would have actually been expected, probably, to have left her. An angel shows up and says, don't do it. It's really okay. Now, you'd have to think that when they were on that stretch of road, an angel or two might have been nice. It would have been good to have some assurance that God was on their side, that things were okay, that they were just on the right road and they were going the right way. And there just wasn't. They had to find it themselves. We must find faith, writes A. Paul Davies, not in the daylight, but in the dark. We must proclaim in the desert a highway when there is no way at all, not even a path or a trail. But we tell this story of Mary and Joseph as this lonely journey, just the two of them, and we ignore the part right before it that says everybody was being told to do this. Everybody was being made to go to a town they were born in to register. There would have been thousands of people on the road with them, all wondering if they would make it. I like to think that people shared things with each other. Maybe someone had food or oil, an extra blanket. Maybe they sang songs together. Maybe they told stories about home that they missed. Maybe they took turns at night keeping watch by the fire for robbers or beasts and protecting everyone. People still do that. They still do that for each other. We do it. We offer care and our love. I will say that the shower of love I received from our community a few weeks ago when my brother died was so important to me. And this year, for perhaps the first time, I thought about, in the story of the Littlest Angel, about him having been a boy whose family was grieving him. And we think of all the families who have lost loved ones this year. And yet, Christmas is a time when it is dark out and we must find faith. And we must find some kind of joy. Last night, a handful of parents and children gathered at Eliot Chapel for an unrehearsed version of our Christmas pageant. I am told that there was lots of glitter in the carpet. This to me is a great sign of joy and a beacon. They brought with them, these families, they brought with them food to donate to Kirkwood, and they had something to give. That was a good thing to note too. And every person there, I am certain, carried in their hearts some sorrow, some weariness or worry, just as every one of us does tonight. And yet, we have something to give. They discovered and we discover what we have to give, that we have the capacity to sing one more song. We are far from home, but we are on this road together. A. Paul Davies writes, at midnight on Christmas Eve, 1944, he says, brotherhood, we betray it, but we cannot forsake it. Love, we disown it, but we cannot renounce it. Because this is so, let us open our hearts to Christmas. Open them to all the hope that stands against a world that wastes with evil things. Open them wide enough for gentleness in a world that is bitter and harsh, for loveliness in a world that is desolate, for faith and joy and the song of its joy that sings in the presence of God. So be it, and amen. And now we work our way, come to the place of closing our service. It's more important than ever now to sing, to find light in the darkness. It's a hopeful and necessary thing that we do, to find a little joy. And this year, we will do it in a new way, outside in our memorial garden. Our musicians have already, and some of our singers have already left out to go out there to meet us, and they will lead us in singing. Now, I have good intelligence from last night that lighting actual candles outside right now is fraught at best and bad symbolism for hope. So we are going to use modern technology here. There's a little basket of little electric candles. So as our pianist, David, plays Silent Night for us, I'm inviting you to follow me as we go outside. I'll go up that way and we'll just follow me around. We'll go out to our garden.